Hello, and welcome to the Teaching Together podcast, where we celebrate and share the glows and grows of teacher life. I'm Grayce.
And I'm Sierra.
Last episode, we shared some of our experiences working as teaching assistants, and we unpacked 7 recommendations for how to use teaching assistants effectively in schools. It's definitely a valuable listen, and it was a really informative discussion, and we highly recommend going back and having a listen if you haven't already, especially if you work with TAs in your classroom.
Here in New South Wales, we have finally made it to the end of what has been an incredibly long 11-week term, and thought that we would spend some time today sharing some glows and grows from term 1 and celebrate the end of Grace's first term as a full-time teacher. Woo! You made it. But of course, before we dive in, it's time for tea.
So I am drinking a brand that I'd never heard of because Sierra very kindly boiled my tea for me in a very wonderful mug, I have to say. I'm loving the mugs. They're just fantastic, so huggable and very deep. But I am drinking a raspberry and strawberry variety that probably would make an excellent iced tea, but I don't like iced tea. I would rather just have like soft drink if I'm drinking something that's sweet and cold. I don't know. But yeah, so I'm having it warm like normal tea, and it's very sweet and a bit bizarre. But you know what? It's fun for a Friday afternoon at the end of term.
Do you normally drink fruity tea?
I usually drink, I love floral teas. I love green tea. I'll try pretty much any type of tea.
Yeah.
But I don't have anything as kind of full on as this raspberry and strawberry. It was a very full on magenta color.
Yeah.
That kind of looked like it should be some kind of cocktail or something. It was like a cosmopolitan but tea.
I'm having a pineapple and peach variety of tea from the same brand, Red Seal. I especially went and bought this pack, and I wanted to have it for our last episode where we were talking about teacher's aids, because this particular pineapple and peach tea was something I drank a lot when I was working as a teacher's aide in the Hive, which was our library.
Aww.
And there was heaps of this tea in there, and I just loved it. But they don't sell it as, I couldn't find it in just that variety anymore. So I had to buy the fruity mix variety, and that's where the raspberry and strawberry came in. So I don't think I've actually tried that one myself, but maybe I should make it cold.
Yeah, I feel like, we are going into winter, so I feel like the time for iced tea has passed.
Yeah.
But, it could be fun.
It could be.
Put a slice of lemon or something on there and Instagram it.
Well, as much as I am thrilled to have made it to the holidays and to be sitting here having a nice warm cup of tea, it has been a good but long term, and I am so grateful for holidays. I think, I don't know, people have mixed feelings about how much of a holiday school holidays really is for teachers.
Yeah, my mum, who is a teacher, or was a teacher until very recently, would say that it's called term time and non-term time.
Yes.
Because, when you're a teacher, yes, you don't have to show up to work, but there's usually a lot of stuff that you have to do at home during the holidays. However, I intend to make the most of this non-term time and sleep to my heart's content and do minimal amounts of work, probably until the last couple of days.
That is, I feel, usually how it rolls. I do have a fair amount of marking to get through these holidays. Both my year 9s and my year 11s had tasks due on the last day of term.
Ugh.
So that will be something that I have to think about, but not until the second week of holidays. This week, I am going to Adelaide. I am super excited. My first time going to South Australia. I've lived in New South Wales, Queensland and Victoria.
Wow.
I've visited WA and visited Tasmania, but going to be my first time going to South Australia, and then I'll only have the Northern Territory to go.
Could you go? Ticking all the boxes.
Oh, and the ACT. I've definitely been there.
Oh, sorry.
So I am so excited. I am a massive McLeod's Daughters fan. Did you ever watch it?
I didn't, but I feel like in previous conversations that we've had, I feel like I have now seen it vicariously through you, but I also really want to watch it. Maybe that's what I'll binge these holidays.
You should. The last time I checked, it was on Stan, but like, I don't know if it changed at any point. That was a couple of years ago. But you only probably need to watch like seasons 1 to 6 and then the very last episode.
Oh, gosh. How many seasons are there?
8.
Oh, okay. So there's only the last 2 are terrible.
Yeah, the last 2 sort of, it was a little bit disappointing.
Why can there never be just a bunch of good seasons and then they stop? Why do they always have to go too far?
I know.
Like, controversial opinion, but The Office sucked as soon as Steve Carell left. I don't care that the rest of the cast was the same. It sucked from midway through season 7. Actually, no, I'm lying. I think it sucked as soon as Pam and Jim got married, which is funny because I loved them so much. But as soon as they got married, I was like, meh. I don't watch any of those episodes anymore. Just make good TV, people. I don't understand. And that TV show is old now, so I need to move on. But anyway.
Well, if you are looking for something to binge and you haven't watched it and you like some good old Aussie drama.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I love McLeod's Daughters. And so they turned the, basically the farm that it was like mostly filmed on where the daughters lived, is now this like super bougie, like,
of course it is,
boutique hotel kind of place with this really amazing restaurant attached to it. So they've like added on to the original like homestead that was there and built this restaurant part. Anyway, we are going to stay there. I'm very excited.
Oh my gosh.
So we're doing that and then staying in the city as well, like Adelaide, the city. And then going to spend a few days in a tiny home.
Yes, I love a good tiny home. I too have spent a few days in a tiny home called glamping. Took my dog. It was great. So I'm so excited for you.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. This one is, have you read The Rosie Project?
No, I have not, but I've definitely heard of it.
Okay, so the tiny home that we're going to stay in is named after Rosie from that book, like the character.
I love that vibe already.
So I have the book, but I've never read it. So I'm going to take it with me and I'm going to read The Rosie Project while I'm in Tiny Rosie.
That makes me so happy. This is why we're friends. This is why we have a podcast, because we do things like this. That's amazing.
So later in the week, you will probably see some photos on social media of this tiny home. I am so excited.
I literally can't wait.
And my D&T brain is just like, I wonder what like clever design features they've used. And like maybe I can build one in my own backyard after I finish building my actual house.
Oh my gosh. You can build a tiny home for me and I'll live in your backyard.
So anyway, that is the trajectory of my holidays, but definitely have to fit some marking in there and a little bit of programming. But I call programming fun schoolwork.
Yeah, it is actually fun.
Do you like it?
I actually quite enjoy it because now that I've been teaching for a term, I know the kids that I'm programming for, and it's so much more interesting than doing a hypothetical program for a hypothetical class for a uni course. Yes. And knowing that this isn't wasted work, it's actually, I'm going to be doing it. And it just, because it's concrete, it's so much more interesting. I'm so much more motivated. I really enjoy it. And because we're teacher nerds, like we literally have a podcast where we talk about teaching. Like we're massive teacher nerds. So I love the idea of sitting down and spending a day or a couple of days just programming, which I'm going to have to do over the holidays. But yeah, I'm not dreading it at all. I just am dreading kind of the mental energy that's going to be required.
You've definitely got to be in the right zone. And I think holidays is a great time to do that because you can have like such big blocks of time when you're only trying to use like your planning periods or RFF time or whatever to do things like that are quite big tasks. I think sometimes it can be hard to like really get into a flow state with that sort of stuff. I think we've talked about flow states before, but this idea of, like just getting fully engrossed in what you're doing, and it makes it really much more easy to concentrate on what you're doing. But I didn't ever think of this before. Like the other day I saw on Instagram, teacher Polly, if you follow her, she mentioned something about how teaching is a creative outlet for her. And I never thought of that, but it really resonated with me. I mean, I love programming, I think, because it's a creative outlet for me where I get to stop and like plan what sort of, interesting and creative teaching and learning ideas can I use here to get this idea across? And, I hate doing things the same way over and over again. Like, I know there's, this idea of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But there's always ways that we can improve. I'm just not really satisfied with settling and just repeating the same unit over and over again when I'm sure there's ways that we could do it better or make it more appropriate for the next cohort that we have or other things. So yeah, I think that's why I love it, because I see it as a creative outlet and an opportunity to do some research and think about what new ideas or pedagogical approaches I might apply, rather than just when you're in the thick of it in the term, you don't always have the mental space to be creative like that.
Yeah.
And so I think holidays gives you that relief from face-to-face time where you can sit and think creatively and try and come up with a plan for the next 10 weeks, which is what I do love about holidays.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all know that teaching is very full on, and it's really good to just you kind of got to go, but then you can really stop. I mean, depending on what other things your life entails, but you can kind of just stop during the holidays and then kind of build up reserves of emotional energy that you need to teach. And like, my dad has worked in sales his whole career, and he gets like 3 or 4 weeks off at Christmas and just works the rest of the year. And I've never, ever wanted to do that. And I look at him and I'm like, how do people go, like the majority of the workforce goes to work every weekday, for the whole year, and then they have a little bit of time off for Christmas, or they take, they have leave that they take and go on a holiday or whatever. And I just am so thankful that we have built-in breaks where I don't have to wake up at 6 a.m. and I can structure my day how I want. Like, I'm so thankful for that, even though I'll be doing work. Yeah. It's a good balance. It's a good balance of feeling productive, but also being able to rest physically and mentally.
Yeah, to just change your pace. You might start working later in the day, or you can work things around other social events. I mean, obviously, if I'm going away for this first week, it means that I know my second week is going to be pretty jam-packed with marking, planning, going to school probably 1 or 2 times, and just feeling organized in my space. That always, although I did have time, I did clean up my classroom yesterday.
That is so exciting.
And yeah, I was quite pleased with that, because quite often I'll go away and just think this will be a holiday problem.
Yeah.
And doesn't always happen. So yeah, but how would you say term 1 went overall for you?
It was exhausting, obviously, but in a lot of ways not as exhausting as I thought it might be. I think because my previous job was quite draining, because I was working 2 full days. So I was working part-time as a teaching assistant, and I just wanted my degree to be over and I wanted to be teaching. And so it was just a slog to always go to work, and I was just exhausted and I hated it. Like, I loved that I was working in a school, but I really hated that I wasn't teaching yet. And so being able to come to work feeling like a bit of a girl boss, because I have a full-time job now, and being mentally stimulated and being in creative control of my classroom, which I actually do really enjoy, because I get to kind of decide what our learning activities will look like. Obviously, I collaborate with the other kindergarten teachers, but it's been a term of finding my feet. I think the first probably 3 weeks were my honeymoon period. Then I had a crisis of confidence, probably week 4, and kind of suffered from what we all love to call imposter syndrome, which I'm still kind of working through, because I am very aware, which I did say a lot at the beginning of this podcast in the first couple of episodes. I'm very aware that I'm a first year out teacher, and I just am kind of like, are you sure you can trust me? All the other stuff. Like, I'm like, to my principal in my brain, I'm not actually going to ever say this to his face, but I'm like, are you sure you can trust me? Like, I just go into my room and teach these kids, and then I send them home to their parents. And I I think one of the glows from this term was my parent-teacher interviews, which were a couple of weeks ago. And every parent was really happy with where their kid is, and they were happy with me. And I had a few parents say, our child is always talking about you, and we're so happy that they feel so comfortable in your class. And that was so heartwarming, because that's exactly what I want. Like, not that I want to always be spoken about at home, because I'm sure they get sick of me hearing about this kid. But the fact that I have been able to make my classroom a safe space for my kids, that was really awesome to hear. And being able to talk to other adults that love these kids. Like, I've known these kids for 11 weeks and I already love them so much, and I'm going to miss them over these 2 weeks. But yeah, so it's been very emotional this term, in good ways and not fantastic ways. But overall, I think I've coped probably better than I thought, even though about halfway through, I just was kind of like, I'm terrible at this. I have no idea what I'm doing. I am an imposter. I don't know why I was given this job, which, from what I've seen of the world, basically everybody has this at some point, unless you're just blessed with crazy, awesome confidence. And I'm so happy for you if you are. But yeah, so thankfully, because my teaching team is so amazing, just like all my colleagues across the entire school are fantastic. And I just have loved every second. Like, I was thinking earlier this week when I was waking up, and it was a bit of a drag because it's the last week of an 11-week term and I was just exhausted. I just thought, there has never been a day this term where I've dreaded going to school, even though I've been so exhausted. I've been thinking, how am I going to get through this day?
Yes.
But I know that when I get there and I see my students and I see my colleagues, it's my school that I work at currently is just a beautiful environment. And I'm also doing my dream job. Like, I have been dreaming of this job, not for my whole life, actually only for the last 5 years while I did my degree, but felt like a very long time. And I do feel like this is what I was born to do. Like, I just love it so much. And so I'm so thankful every day that, when I unlock my classroom and sit down at my desk, I go, wow, this is real. Which, from what I've seen of Teachergram, lots of first year teachers are kind of still pinching themselves going, wow, I'm like, this is my classroom, which is just fantastic. And so I'm so thankful. And I look at my class and that's my class. Yeah. So it's been really positive. And I've honestly loved every second. Like, doing parent-teacher interviews, I had a really good time. Like, it was fun. I was at school for 4 hours that night, and it went so fast because I had 18 interviews and they could only go for 10 minutes because otherwise we'd be there forever. So the interviews themselves were very short, but I just loved talking to these parents about their kids. And yeah, being able to share some of my love for their kids. I just kind of wanted to communicate, hey, I really care about your child. I really value them, and they have a special place in this class, and I know them as a person, which is probably, I think, in kindergarten, because they're 5, they're a lot more open to just telling you about themselves, and it might be a little bit easier to break the ice. But yeah, so parent-teacher interviews are definitely a glow this term because they were really affirming and reassuring. I left school that night after I had to go back to my classroom and get my phone after I got all the way back to my car and was like, oh man, my phone, can I go with a whole night without it? And I was like, no, I need to wake up. I need to wake up on time tomorrow. Anyway, after I got home, I was like, that was amazing. As far as first ever parent-teacher interviews go as a full-time teacher, they were amazing. So I'm very, very thankful for that. So I think this whole term has been affirming in that I'm doing the right career because I love it so much. And also I can cope under pressure. Not that there's a lot of pressure. It's more from internal sources. Because everyone else, the whole staff, we're all kind of thinking along the same lines of we're learning how to do inquiry-based programming and concept-based curriculum and all that stuff. And it's the school I'm at is very new. This is only the second year that it's been operational. So we're all kind of in the same boat. So most of the pressure is coming from me, and everyone else has been so supportive. But yeah, I can hold up under my own pressure, which I think we can all agree the pressure you put yourself under is way worse than anything anyone else is going to do.
I think that's so typical for teachers. Like, I really think that teaching draws a certain personality.
Yeah.
And it's often those kind of people who like really want to invest in others, really genuinely care about others, and are really, really willing to sort of like sacrifice a lot of their time for the benefit of other people. And it is a beautiful and rewarding career in that sense. But I think that's why we see so much burnout. You know, there are other reasons and other imperfections in our system that, you know, can be contributors. But I often think that is a part of the reason why we see so many teachers, you know, talking about this idea of teacher tired, you know, because you just invest so much social energy and emotional energy. And like, yeah, it's unlike a lot of other careers.
Yeah, I was having a conversation with one of my more introverted colleagues who were talking about how we love teaching so much. We couldn't imagine doing anything else. But sometimes we wish we could just sit at a desk and just not talk to a person for a day and just do our work and just have a desk job. Like, there are many days when I wish I could do that. But then I get into the classroom, I'm like, this is great. I would be so bored if I had to sit at a desk. I would be falling asleep within the first 10 minutes. Like, I would hate that so much. But yeah, teacher tired is definitely a thing.
I love what you said about it, like how there's not been a morning when you wake up and you dread going to work, even though you're really tired. Like, I was feeling that particularly in the back end of this term. Like, the exhaustion can be real.
Yeah.
But you can still really love what you're doing. And usually once you're there, it's like Monday-itis.
Oh,
good old Monday-itis.
The worst feeling in the world.
Once you're actually there and you're in the groove and you're like, yes, that's right. That's why I'm here. But yeah, it is nice timing to now have some, what did your mum call it? Non-term time.
Non-term time.
Some non-term time to just sort of regroup and recover a little bit. I think one of my glows for the term would have to be my year 11 class. I think if you've been listening from the start, thank you. And you might remember that I shared a little bit about them and how I was planning for that course right at the start of the year. And it got me really stumped for a while about, you know, what I was going to do with them. And the previous year I inherited a year 12 cohort. So I hadn't had the opportunity to carry that group from year 11 through to year 12. And, you know, they ended up doing really well and I was really pleased with how that went. But I was really excited about having a group that I could sort of really take through from scratch. And it's taken a lot of thinking and, again, that sort of creativity in trying to work out, well, where do I want them to get to and how am I going to get them there? And we've just finished this amazing unit where we have been creating our own biodegradable materials.
Ooh.
And it's been so experimental and so, I guess, fluid because they are really just sort of, I guess, steering it a little bit. You know, I've given them some parameters, but they've really been steering that. And to see some students in particular really grasp this idea that they can't fail if they are persisting. So, I mean, this is a strange concept, but in design and technology, you know, the whole focus is on this design cycle. And I think all the way through school, in so many of their subjects, students are sort of taught that the end product has to be, you know, complete and of great quality.
Yeah.
You know, the thing that they are working on has to be done and it has to work and it has to be done well and have all the right answers and that sort of thing. And the way that design and technology works is so different to that. And I've had to teach them that, you know, it doesn't actually matter if your idea doesn't work, as long as you've been going through the process and you've been trying things and researching and showing what you've learnt from the process, and teaching them to shift their mindset to valuing the process, not the product.
And I mean, most of the time, the first thing that you end up making, even though you put all that effort into it, is not going to work anyway.
That's right. The number of times I say to students, like, no matter how much you might love your first idea, I guarantee you it's not going to be the best one you can come up with.
Yeah.
But they so often come up with something and they just want to do only that.
Yeah.
But I have, really, really loved seeing some of these students just have these light bulb moments of being like one of them said to me, Miss, D&T has become my favourite subject because I've realised that I can't actually fail.
Oh, that's
And I'm
amazing.
just like, yes, thank you. I know. How good is it? Like, as long as you are, you've got an open mind and you're exploring different things, it doesn't actually matter if you get to, if you land on a solution.
And that is so liberating, like from a teaching perspective and from a student's perspective, because you can have fun and you can take responsible risks. And the worst thing in the world is no longer, I'm going to fail. Because even in kindergarten, we have some students who they've already learned at 5 years old that to fail is the worst thing ever. You can't ever recover from it. Like, that's it. That's the full stop. And it's so heartbreaking to see tiny children already having learned that. But to hear that you've got a student in your class who's actually, first of all, understood what you've been trying to impart. Yeah. That's like, it's about the process and you can't fail. You're experimenting. And like, from my very limited knowledge of real world design processes and stuff like that, like you go through a million different varieties.
And yeah, I think, James Dyson, who is the guy that came up with the Dyson vacuum cleaner, made over 5,000 prototypes.
That hurts me.
Before he had a working product that was, ready to go. And I mean, that's a classic example in any D&T textbook. But you're exactly right. In the real world, failure is considered part of the learning process because you don't learn what you've got to do next until you can work out what's gone wrong and then rectify that issue and then go through the process again. It's been lots of fun. I am really, really excited to see what they do next.
I'm excited to hear about it.
Yeah.
Kind of related, kind of not, but it was just super wholesome and kind of goes on the theme of wholesome glows.
Yeah.
For this term. Yesterday, one of my kiddos was very shy and holding his mum's hand and was like waiting outside the door when I arrived at school that morning. And she was like, are you going to give it to her? Are you going to give it to her? And I was like, what's going on? Thought it was going to be like some kind of random colouring in that this student had done at home, which always warms my heart when they bring things that they've spent time on at home. But it was just a display folder, and his mum, it almost made me cry. His mum has kept all the things that I've sent home. Like on the very first day, I sent home a little thing that I got from Top Teacher that was we stick together in this class or something, and then I put a sheet of stickers with it, and I sent that to every kid. And she'd kept that. She kept my first day of kindergarten sheet and all this other stuff that I'd sent home during the term. And the fact that she'd kept it all just, again, warmed my heart because obviously it meant something to her, and kindergarten parents are going to be more sentimental than probably other parents of other grades. But looking at this student's first day of kindergarten sheet, they had to write their name and their age, the name of their teacher, and draw a picture of what they wanted to be when they grew up. And this beautiful child could not write his name at the beginning of the term and would write his name backwards and was writing it in all capitals and all this stuff. And we spent a lot of time at the beginning of the year doing stuff with kids' names, like literacy activities with kids' names, because they can't read anything. And just looking at, like, on this sheet of paper, he'd written just a bunch of random letters, some of which were in his name, some of which were not, some of which I couldn't quite decipher. And I just had to look at it and just go, he can write his name now, and he can write it the correct way, and he can write 3-letter words, and he can read some sounds, and I helped him do that. And it was so beautiful. And I just really needed that on the second last day of week 11 of term 1. And I just stood at my desk and tried really hard not to cry because the bell's about to go. And those who know me know that I love to cry about everything all the time. Whatever emotion I'm feeling, if I feel it strongly enough, I will be crying. Yep. But I thankfully did not cry. It was so beautiful to see in just a term how much he had learned because he was in my class. And I was like, this is the best thing ever. It was so wholesome. And yeah, just seeing him and all the kids learning and getting things wrong and writing their letters backwards and writing their names backwards and now not doing that so much. And I was just so chuffed to have been a part of that. Yeah, it really warmed my heart. And you were saying, Sarah, before that people become teachers for the fact that you can invest in people's lives and it draws a very specific type of person to this profession. And I just really thought this is why I'm a teacher, because of this feeling that I get that I've been able to help a small human do something really meaningful. Like I helped this kid write his name properly for the first time and I helped him read his first words. And I just feel so honoured to be in that position with these 18 kiddos. And potentially I'll be doing it again and again and again, depending on where I'm placed, like on what grades I'm placed in the future. And I was like, I love being a teacher and I'm so tired, but this makes it all worth it.
Yeah, I love those moments. Looking forward to next term, what are some of your grows, do you think? What are some things that you're going to be working on?
Definitely overcoming imposter syndrome because it's so real. Like it really is. And I've definitely seen various first-year teachers on the interwebs, sharing that they do feel kind of like they're playing dress up. But I was actually speaking to one of my colleagues at our kind of celebratory staff dinner this week. And she is just a little bit older than me. She's married, got a young family. I really admire her and would love to be like her when I grow up. But she said that she doesn't feel like an adult. she's just pretending. She's just playing at being an adult. And I thought, wow, I guess it never goes away. What I really would like to work on is when I'm uncertain or unsure, I want to be confident in going to my grade leader for help instead of just kind of flailing around and feeling like an imposter, because there are so many different people I can talk to and avenues I can go down to deal with that. And if I am collaborating with my colleagues, I'll be more confident because I'll know that it's not just me thinking this, that I'm on the same page as other more experienced teachers. But yeah, I really just want to work on my collaboration skills, because I really struggle talking to adults, which is why I'm a kindergarten teacher. And so I need to probably get better at that and just kind of sharing what I'm thinking of doing in my classroom rather than hiding it for fear that it'll be the quote unquote wrong thing, which, considering the conversation that we just had, is highly ironic. I'm really looking forward to these 2 weeks to kind of, first of all, decompress and process the term and then have a think, what do I want to do differently? Because I have been feeling a bit disorganized in terms of where I literally, logistically, where do I put my resources for the day, the week, the term? But yeah, I think I need to just reflect on my craft as a professional once I've had some space from it and just go, okay, new term, fresh start. What do I think I need to focus on? And actually, we're implementing a a peer mentoring system is the focus of our staff meetings next term, apparently. That'll be really good. And I'll update you guys as we go and all the wonderful things I'm learning and all the terrible teaching habits I will probably have pointed out to me.
That's really helpful. I really like that idea.
Yeah, it's so collaborative.
And peer on peer makes it so much maybe less daunting than your head of something is going to come and watch you. when it's just another teacher who can give you some thoughts and feedback. That sounds like a great opportunity.
Yeah, it feels like we're all in it together. I'm looking forward to that.
Cool. I've been doing a PD the last couple of weeks. I did post about it on our story earlier in the week. It's a PD on using assessment evidence and how to, I thought this was so cool. This is my teacher nerd coming out. How to identify a student's zone of proximal development based on the evidence that you've gathered.
Oh, my nerd heart just leapt with joy. That sounds amazing.
So cool.
There's a formula.
Yeah, so it takes you through this idea of how to construct what they're calling a developmental rubric. So, you know, like the classic exam marking criteria that's kind of like all the different things in a single band.
Yeah.
And then, you know, this is like what a 13 to 15 looks like, and it's got like all the different things across the
like
bands.
the dot points.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't tend to write marking criteria like that because I find like the actual box type rubric much more effective for the types of things I'm marking. But this PD basically takes you through this idea of constructing a developmental rubric, which is similar to one of those boxy rubrics, but focuses on specific skills and has some rules around like how you write it. And I'll probably think about an episode that we can do for that later down the track once I've sort of finished the training on it. But it sounds very interesting and very helpful with not a massive shift because I have to write marking rubrics anyway. But basically they show you how to then take that data and turn it into a particular type of spreadsheet. And then when you analyze that sheet, it identifies the student's zone of proximal development.
Oh my goodness.
It just sounds so cool. And there's about 10 of us across the school doing this same PD. So it's an opt-in, but there's a few people doing it. So I'm really interested to finish it and learn more and kind of have a think about how we can write our rubrics going forward, kind of following a bit more of this methodology. But yeah, it's I guess its intention is really to be used more for like pre-assessment because what's the point of knowing someone's zone of proximal development if you've already been teaching outside of that?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Kind of, it'll be like a placement kind of assessment almost to go, okay, you guys are in this zone or whatever.
And it then informs your teaching. The PD talked about it being like, you know, how we always hear about assessment for as and of learning.
Yep.
And he actually said this is assessment for teaching.
Yes.
Not assessment for learning.
Yeah, it tells you, okay, you need to focus on this, not focus on that. Your class, your program may be about all these things, but your class really struggles with this.
Or like the pitch point, like, you know, how if you use Bloom's as a taxonomy for, you know, skills, different skills, you might be teaching the content at like an identify kind of level, but actually your students are all over that and you can be pushing up into sort of the next level of thinking.
That sounds amazing. I'm so excited to hear what you learn.
I'm really enjoying it so far. So I'm up to the point where basically I've done all the modules on like what the rubric is and now I have to make my own.
Ooh.
So I've kind of paused so that I can do some programming through the holidays and think about what my next assessment is going to be and then try and write the assessment using this method.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what I'm sort of going to be working on in the holidays and is kind of going to be my grow this term. I don't know. I just think rubric writing and assessment task writing is actually a skill and it's really important because the way that we write our tasks and our marking criteria is essential for the kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I'm talking more from a secondary perspective, but even still, like if you were talking about success criteria in a primary classroom, you know, you try and use language that they understand.
Like literally, that's what we're doing in our program. We write kind of guiding inquiry questions that we look at that kind of on the basis of lessons. And what we really struggle to do is pitch it to a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's important that we think about our criteria and how it's going to translate to them. And, you know, we want them to know what we're asking of them.
Yes.
it shouldn't be a secret.
No, it really should not.
And I was saying to my Year 7 class, I said, I'm not trying to trick you into losing marks.
Yes.
I want you to understand what I'm actually asking you to do. So hoping through the holidays to finish this PD, to write one of those rubrics as part of my, planning and preparation for next term. And then growing in how I maybe take this back to my faculty.
Yeah.
Be like, hey guys, I'm the baby here. You guys have all been doing this for longer than me, but I think we should do this.
That is really tricky when you think I've actually got a good idea or I've learnt this really awesome thing and I'm the youngest in the room. But as a professional, you kind of have to go, no, actually, I've learnt this.
Yeah, I mean, full credit to my faculty who are always very, receptive, and particularly the guys I work with on the same subject as me. If I come to them with an idea, they're always like, go for it.
I love that.
Which is great. But I think, assessment tasks can be one of those things that, people want to write them and just get them out.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think that's going to be my grow for this coming term. Yeah, there's some amazing data on that, which I'll bring in for you guys next term. But
for our rubric writing episode.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm always excited. Well, I think that kind of wraps things up for us.
I think so.
Yeah. Well, we hope that you have been enjoying or enjoy your school holidays. We know that some states have not had the same length of term as us.
We're so happy for you.
But your non-term time is well deserved. And we hope that you find some rest and relaxation, as well as some time to really pump out some creative thinking about what's going to come for you in term 2.
If you have enjoyed our podcast so far, we always love it if you could leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or a 5-star rating on Spotify. It really does help other people find us, and we can continue to grow our community of listeners. See you next time.
Bye.